Steve McQUEEN died today, 50 years old.
Steve McQUEEN was a legendary actor. His remarkable performances won him millions of fans and millions of dollars.
When people ask me, what is star quality, I say, Steve McQUEEN. Everybody loved him.
By the mid-1970s, the king of cool was the world's highest paid movie star.
Steve McQueen helped redefine what a movie star could be.
But the actor, probably best known for his roles in The Great Escape, The Magnificent Seven, and Bullitt, died almost unrecognizable in a hospital bed in Mexico on the 7th of November, 1980.
The world lost somebody with real greatness when he died.
His death fueled wild rumors, and there were allegations of conspiracy.
I was told that a government agent had come in and put a blood coagulating substance in his IV.
I'll be unraveling the truth surrounding Steve McQueen's death and attempting to reveal what really happened to this iconic star during the last months, days, and hours of his life.
World-renowned forensic physician Dr. Jason Payne James is a leading specialist in forensic and legal medicine. Called on by the National Crime Agency, UK police forces and government task forces in the UK and abroad, he provided evidence in the Soham murders and Baby P cases.
I have here some of Steve McQueen's medical documents, and these, along with x-rays and first-hand accounts, will help me investigate the real reason for his death.
October 1979, Chicago, Illinois, a year before his death. Steve McQueen has been in the Hollywood spotlight for over 20 years. At 49, he's still one of the world's most bankable stars. But while shooting a scene for his latest movie, The Hunter, he's struggling with shortness of breath and has a violent coughing fit.
There were scenes that he did where he was so weak. He didn't look right. And when you see them, he looks dissipated. He looks sick. He looks ill.
Despite reports of Steve looking unwell during the filming of The Hunter, his medical records from the year before he died suggest he was in fairly good shape for a man in his late 40s. He was particularly interested in karate. This should have improved his cardiovascular health and enhanced stamina, strength, and flexibility.
As well as keeping in shape for his movies, Steve had another reason to look after himself: his children. Steve always ensured his children felt loved and protected. He wanted them to have the idyllic childhood that he never had. Steve McQueen was born on the 24th of March, 1930, in Beech Grove, Indiana. His stunt pilot father, William Terrence McQueen, left him and his mother, Julian, at birth.
His mother was a hooker, or a lady of the night, as sometimes they called them. And he was a kind of an accident.
Julian had relationships with a string of abusive men.
At least one of those men took the opportunity to physically beat the young McQueen up. From an early age, Steve learned the value of self-reliance and wariness about the rest of the world that he never lost.
As a troubled teenager, Steve ended up in gangs, running away with the circus and living on the street. Steve was sent to the Boys Republic Reform School to try and straighten him out, but he kept running away. But that famous aura of coolness could have partly been a result of something far more physiological.
I can see from Steve's records that when he was around 7 or 8 years old, he had an episode of mastoiditis, a serious bacterial infection of the mastoid bone behind the ear. This can normally be cleared up with a course of antibiotics, but left untreated, it can affect hearing. It seems that Steve was not taken to the doctor and ended up with partial hearing loss in his left ear.
Deafness was also responsible for another of Steve's defining features.
The famous Steve McQueen squint, that sort of slightly intimidating look he had, was from the necessity of concentrating and listening to what people were saying.
So Steve's deafness could have helped to earn him the title, the King of Cool.
7, rescued 4, possible cardiac arrest, 21-year-old female in the bathtub, face down.
We're getting late word this evening about the daughter of the late singer Whitney Houston.
As the daughter of pop superstar Whitney Houston, Bobbi Kristina Brown lived her life in the public gaze. She grew up to become a celebrity in her own right, followed by online fans all over the world. But on January 31st, 2015, 21-year-old Bobbi Kristina Brown was found unconscious in a bath.
Bobbi Kristina Brown was found unresponsive at her Georgia home this morning in a scene eerily similar to the way her mother died nearly 3 years ago.
Unlike her mother, she was still alive when she was found.
This morning, a police investigation is underway.
Bobbi Kristina was put into a medically induced coma, but never regained consciousness. 6 months later, on July 26, 2015, she died.
Initial autopsy results are in for Bobbi Kristina Brown, but they do not shed any light on the cause of her death yesterday.
For a mother and daughter to die in such similar tragic circumstances is really bizarre. What I want to know is, was this just an accident, a twist of fate, or did something much more sinister happen?
World-renowned forensic pathologist Dr. Richard Shepard has been performing high-profile autopsies for more than 25 years. His expertise has been called on for the Bloody Sunday inquiry, the aftermath of the September 11th attacks, and the inquest into the death of Princess Diana.
This is the autopsy report for Bobbi Kristina Brown. The medical examiner who performed the autopsy gave a natural cause of death of lobar pneumonia. This is a bacterial infection of the lungs, which her body, lying in hospital in a coma, would have been unable to fight off. But the question is, how can this report tell us how she ended up in hospital in the first place?
January 25th, 2014, Los Angeles, California. 18 months before her death, Bobbi Kristina Brown, known as Chrissy, is attending a pre-Grammy event with partner Nick Gordon. In just 2 months, it'll be her 21st birthday, when she will inherit an estimated $2 million, an initial amount from her mother's estate. After the tragedy of her mother's death, Chrissy is trying to get her life back on track, but the recording career she dreams of is yet to take off.
Looking at the appearance of Bobbi Kristina's body, I could see that she was a small woman. She was only 5 feet 5 inches in height, and she actually looked younger than her stated age. She did have a number of piercings, 6 to her ears, 1 to her nostril and 2 to her navel. But there was no sign of any cosmetic surgery. She was remarkably natural, like her mother, Whitney Houston.
In 1992, after several miscarriages, Whitney finally became pregnant with her husband, R&B singer Bobby Brown. Born March 4th, 1993, Chrissy was doted on by her parents. But Whitney and Bobbi Brown had abused various drugs. And it wasn't just drugs. When Chrissy was 10 years old, Bobbi Brown was charged with assaulting Whitney. 2 years later, the bedlam of their family life was exposed in a reality TV show. In 2007, Whitney divorced Bobbi, quit drugs, and made a fresh start with Chrissy. But it was short-lived.
We have breaking news, and it's shocking. The actor Heath Ledger has been found dead in his apartment in Manhattan.
Heath Ledger was Hollywood's rising star, richly talented with rugged good looks. By his mid-20s, he earned his first Oscar nomination for Brokeback Mountain. 2 years later, he delivered one of the big screen's most iconic performances, playing the Joker in the Batman movie, The Dark Knight.
This comes as extremely shocking news that definitely nobody saw coming.
But at 3:36 p.m. on the 22nd of January 2008, Ledger was pronounced dead in the bedroom of his New York apartment. He was just 28 years old.
Heath Ledger appeared to be in the prime of his life, a hugely talented actor with a great future ahead of him.
His body was taken for autopsy.
The medical examiner concluded that he died from an overdose. But was it a tragic accident, or did he deliberately take his own life?
Heath Ledger battled drug use, a personal life in crisis, and the psychological trauma of playing the Joker.
Any comments on Heath Ledger's death? I warned him.
While the circumstances of his death are still unclear, what is certain is that a young life and a promising career were cut short far too soon.
I've looked at all the publicly available post-mortem information about Heath Ledger. It gives some clues as to how he lived his life. And I hope will pinpoint the reasons for his premature death.
19th of January 2008, London. Just 3 days before his death, Heath Ledger's on the set of his latest film, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. He's playing Tony, a mysterious figure who has joined Dr. Parnassus's traveling theater. It's his 15th Hollywood movie, and his career appears to be at an all-time high.
At 28, Heath Ledger was in the prime of his life. He was a very physical actor. He liked to do his own stunts and, by all reports, was very fit and healthy. Despite being tired from a grueling schedule over the previous few months, with little time off, there appears to be no obvious reason for his death.
Starting out in his native Australia, Heath Ledger took time to get noticed, cutting his acting teeth in television soaps like Home and Away. But it was obvious to those that knew him that much greater success was just round the corner.
He has such a charisma. You only have to look at his smile to see how he just lights up a stage or screen.
In 1997, aged 18, he decided he wanted a career in the movies and tried his luck in Hollywood.
It was obviously a big gamble. He'd made a promise to himself that he wasn't going to accept a TV role, even though there were some that were really quite lucrative. And he apparently got down to his last $150 when he got cast.
That role in teen comedy 10 Things I Hate About You alerted the business to his star quality. From then, his rise was rapid. His first big studio vehicle, A Knight's Tale, came at 21 and was followed by the lead in the action drama The Four Feathers. By 25, he had his first Best Actor nomination at the Oscars for his part in Brokeback Mountain, a poignant story of forbidden love between two young cowboys. Heath created a sensitive character troubled by his sexuality. Then in 2007, just months before his death, Heath Ledger gave one of the darkest performances ever to hit the silver screen, Batman's psychopathic nemesis, the Joker. 19th of January, 2008, London. On the set of Dr. Parnassus, Ledger's warming up for the final scene, getting ready for a dangerous stunt. For the past few weeks, he's been filming outside at night in sub-zero temperatures, including scenes where he's hung from a bridge soaking wet, doused with water. Throughout, he's been fighting off a heavy cold.
He's tired, he's exhausted, he's got a persistent cough, so it's most likely he's developed a secondary bacterial chest infection. I can see from these photographs taken on set that Heath Ledger was smoking. This is significant. Every cigarette you smoke damages hair-like structures lining the air passages called cilia. These remove debris such as mucus and other irritants from the lungs themselves. If you develop an acute chest infection, then the last thing you want to do is to continue smoking because it may take you longer to recover from that infection.
According to the film's director, Terry Gilliam, a doctor recommends antibiotics. But Ledger refuses and perseveres with a tough filming schedule. And on the last night of filming, Heath has to forget about his illness to perform a series of stunts. It's the final London scene, and the production is now relocating to Canada. Heath is exhausted and badly in need of rest. Ledger flies home to New York the very next morning.
We know that Heath Ledger was unable to shake off flu. It's possible that he had a secondary chest infection, perhaps pneumonia, and that might have compromised his ability to breathe. But so far, there's no obvious reason why he died.
11 p.m., 20th of January, 2008, New York, 2 days before his death. Heath Ledger's flown home from filming in London and then shows up at the Beatrice Inn, an exclusive hangout favored by the rich and famous. But tonight, it's Heath's bizarre appearance that catches the eye.
He showed up with a hood pulled up over his head and a ski mask, as if attempting to remain anonymous while at the same time being the center of attention.
But Heath Ledger has another reason to conceal his identity. He's been stung by the media on a previous night out. 2 years before, a secretly recorded video revealed a hidden lifestyle. The video was filmed at the Chateau Marmont Hotel, where actor John Belushi died of a drugs overdose in 1982. It was shot at a party just after Ledger and his then-girlfriend Michelle Williams had attended a Hollywood Awards ceremony on January the 29th, 2006. The video shows an unidentified man snorting what was claimed to be cocaine from a table in front of Heath. And then Ledger makes a damning admission of his own.
Heath's words are significant because they are evidence of a long-standing drug habit. Marijuana is one of the most widely used illegal drugs in the world. In the same way as long-term tobacco smoking, long-term marijuana smoking renders you more susceptible to serious chest infections.
But there is further evidence to suggest Heath may have used hard drugs.
I see that the police reported by his body a $20 bill rolled up in the manner often used to snort drugs, for example, cocaine. So was illegal drug use the cause of Heath's behavior and his subsequent demise?
Tonight, the music industry is mourning the loss of one of its brightest stars.
The singer, Amy Winehouse, has been found dead in her flat.
Amy Winehouse and her music won the hearts of millions. Her multi-award-winning album, Back to Black, has sold more than 20 million copies worldwide. Her soulful voice, the honesty of her lyrics and down-to-earth personality won the hearts of millions.
To be honest, this is really high-end for me, you know? Like, this isn't the kind of thing I'm used to, you know? Like, Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber, like, he's up here, and I'm like, all I can think about is the fact that he looks like my Uncle Ron. I'm serious. Thank you very much.
But at 3 p.m. on July the 23rd, 2011, Amy Winehouse is found dead in the bedroom of her home in Camden, North London. At the inquest, the coroner concluded she had died of alcohol poisoning.
It was no secret that Amy Winehouse had had a long battle with addictions. But in the weeks leading up to her death, she'd made huge progress. She was clean from drugs and she was tackling her alcohol dependence. So why did Amy Winehouse suddenly drink herself to death? Using information revealed at the autopsy, evidence from the inquest and eyewitness accounts, I'm going to investigate the last few days and hours of Amy Winehouse's life. How did alcohol kill her, and was it the only factor in her death?
June the 18th, 2011, Belgrade, Serbia. 5 weeks before her death, Amy Winehouse and her band are about to go on stage for the first night of a 12-date European tour. Under intense pressure following a series of disastrous concerts, Amy's career is in crisis.
Amy was in a seriously dark place. She's haunted by demons. Her personal life's been a car crash. This is the acid test. It's her first proper gig in quite a while, and she needs to silence those critics and silence them for good.
She'd sort of been making these concerted efforts to put the show back on the road. And because of that, we were all very hopeful. This was going to be a comeback tour. We honestly thought she was getting better.
But it's a disaster. As this footage reveals, a drunken Amy is barely able to perform.
It was chaos. This was on another level, and we realised that it just couldn't go on. We played for over an hour, but I don't think we got through a single song. And it was just heartbreaking, it was heart-wrenching.
Southgate, North London, 1997. Amy's talent was obvious from childhood. She began writing songs aged 14.
Growing up, I just thought, when you're happy or sad, you know, you sing.
By 16, she was a vocalist with the National Youth Jazz Orchestra and signed to music impresario Simon Fuller.
My music is the only area in my life where I'm fully confident and fully embrace everything, you know what I mean? So yeah.
She burst to prominence in 2003, aged just 20, with her debut album, Frank.
She was world class. An extreme talent. We'd be in rehearsals at times, she'd, you know, we'd be crying because it was so good.
It's timeless music, and it will bring smiles, it will bring tears. That's what Amy did.
Music is the most influential thing on my entire life and will be, you know, until I die.
Amy's gift is obvious in the title track of her second album in 2006. Her distinctive beehive hairstyle and 50s-inspired image became recognizable around the world.
Looking at Amy Winehouse, the first thing we notice is her big black beehive wig, her multiple tattoos. She's had breast enhancement surgery. All of these suggest somebody who is very conscious of their body and very conscious of the image that they wish to project to others.
But Amy's iconic look and huge success were overshadowed by a spiral into an abyss of addiction. Violent outbursts, bizarre behavior, and stints in rehab became a national obsession. June the 22nd, 2011, Camden Town, London. A month before her death, Amy Winehouse returns home following her disastrous performance in Serbia. Her European tour has been cancelled. She will never perform in public again. 4 weeks later, Amy Winehouse is found dead. The results of forensic tests conducted during the autopsy are a revelation.
From the toxicology report, the first thing I notice is that Amy is taking a prescription drug called Librium. Librium is one of a class of drugs called benzodiazepines and is used in the treatment of alcohol dependence and also used to treat the symptoms of alcohol withdrawal. So that seems odd because on the one hand, Amy died of alcohol poisoning, but on the other hand, she was trying to actively manage her recovery.
There were other signs that Amy Winehouse was turning a corner and trying to change her life.
She had a new boyfriend who wasn't living in her reflected glory. He had his own career. His creativity kick-started hers. She was writing songs again. She was making plans for the future. They were going to go to St. Lucia to celebrate her birthday in September. There was even talk of marriage.
There's a substantial amount of evidence that suggests that Amy Winehouse was really trying to deal with her alcohol addiction and that there were many positive things in her life. What then changed that made her relapse and eventually drink herself to death? Evidence heard at the inquest revealed that Amy Winehouse had been battling bulimia. Bulimia is an eating disorder whereby people binge on food and then attempt to control their weight by purging themselves, say with laxatives, or by self-induced vomiting. Bulimia has the potential for causing serious health problems. These include rupture of the stomach, damage to the esophagus, and catastrophic loss of chemicals called electrolytes.
Electrolytes like sodium and potassium generate energy, contract muscles, and move fluids around the body. Purging can cause dehydration and the loss of electrolytes. This can lead to irregular heartbeats and even heart failure.
Amy Winehouse had bulimia, and so she could have had electrolyte disturbance. She was also drinking, and we know she had high alcohol levels. The two of these combined could have affected the function of her heart and could have stopped her heart beating.
So could bulimia have contributed to Amy's death? Her brother Alex believed it was the direct cause. And a former stylist was convinced Amy died from a combination of bulimia and alcohol because of the extra pressure her eating disorder put on her body. Her GP stated at the inquest into her death that despite suffering from bulimia, Amy had refused psychiatric help, fearing its effect on her creativity as a songwriter. Friday, July the 22nd, 2011, the day before her death. Camden Square, North London. At 2 p.m, Amy's mother Janice pays her a visit.
How are you?
She's not seen her daughter for several weeks. According to Janice's account of what happened, Amy is still in bed. She said that Amy's bodyguard, Andrew, washed her and dressed her. Janice stated she had to wait half an hour and that Amy has to be carried downstairs. She said her daughter reeked of alcohol. It was coming out of every pore. She could barely speak. It's clear that 24 hours before her death, Amy has been drinking for some time despite attempts to stay sober and despite knowing the risks.